few awards here and there, and a couple of movies. And I love the Lord. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And I've been doing it for a very long time and still feel like doing it.
Imagine showing up to a Seventh-day Adventist camp meeting, expecting quiet reflection, hymns sung softly, and sermons whispered with reverence. But instead, you find Ricky Dillard and Karen Clark Sheard shaking the entire tent.
What an honor it is to be here to, first of all, be asked to pay tribute to a woman who's so worthy, Mariah.
That's exactly what happened. And what unfolded during those few hours has left a mark that the church will not forget anytime soon. It all started with a choice, a controversialis egi, a choice to bring two gospel powerhouses into a space that has long held onto silence, structure, and strict order. For years, these annual camp meetings have been known for their simplicity. Families gather to hear quiet messages and feel spiritually renewed. The music is usually gentle. The flow is predictable. The values are deeply rooted in modesty and restraint. So when the event organizers announced that Ricky Dillard and Karen Clark Sheard would lead the music portion, shockwaves rippled through the Adventist community. Some younger churchgoers were excited. They thought it was time for a change. Others, especially the elders, were not happy. One committee member reportedly warned that these guests were not in alignment with Adventist worship traditions. He said their music might bring confusion, not clarity. Their presence, he feared, could disrupt the sacred flow. Still, the plan moved forward. Flyers began to circulate on social media. Debates broke out in comment sections. Some called it a bold move to welcome new voices. Others called it a spiritual risk. The atmosphere leading up to the event was tense. Then, the day arrived. It was a Saturday afternoon. The main tent was packed with attendees. Families, pastors, delegates, and youth leaders filled every row. Cameras were set up. Worship teams were in place. Everyone was waiting. Some were eager. Others looked cautious. Then the lights dimmed. Ricky Dillard's choir entered first. They didn't walk in quietly. They marched in with purpose, rhythm, and bright robes. Then Ricky appeared. He wore a shimmering green robe that caught every eye. As he lifted his arms, the music burst into life. The choir began to sing more abundantly. The harmonies were rich. The beat was strong. People on one side of the tent stood up. They raised their hands and sang along. Some cried. Others clapped. But on the opposite side, it was silent. Elders sat still. A few looked down. One closed his Bible and stood up. He walked out. According to one eyewitness, an assistant to the worship team ran backstage in distress. She whispered to a senior leader. Moments later, one of the choir microphones went silent during a major solo. It lasted more than a minute. Whether it was a mistake or intentional remains unknown. But it changed the mood instantly. Ricky didn't stop. Between songs, he grabbed the mic and said, "Let everything that hath breath, and I mean everything, praise the Lord." The audience responded with cheers, but the elders did not. That statement felt like a challenge, like he was pushing back against the reserved style of worship that the church had always known. Next came his second song, Release. It was louder. It was faster. The choir danced. The tent shook. Videos started popping up online within minutes. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all filled with clips of people shouting, crying, and some even falling under the power of the moment. For many, it felt like a revival. For others, it felt like disorder. Behind the scenes, the organizers were growing concerned. Ricky's set had gone longer than scheduled. Emotions were running high. A few programs that were supposed to follow were delayed or canceled. One insider said It took several leaders working together just to calm the room down again. Then, Karen Clark Sheard was introduced. Hopes that things would return to normal were crushed the moment she walked on stage. She wore a navy blue suit and her signature high heels. The applause was deafening. Without a word, she stepped up to the microphone and launched into Balm in Gilead. According to the official plan, she was supposed to perform one song, offer a short prayer, and exit. But she didn't stop there. After the first song, she paused. Then she looked out at the crowd and said, "I feel a shift in here. Somebody needs deliverance, not a program." And with that, she started again. People in the audience cried out, hands lifted, voices shouted. A line began to form near the stage. An altar call had begun right in the middle of the program. Some were weeping, others were kneeling. But off stage, panic was setting in. A senior elder reportedly turned to an assistant and said, "She's off the schedule. She needs to stop." Another leader waved toward the sound booth, possibly trying to have her microphone turned off, but she kept going. Her next song was "Jesus is a Love Song." The music built and built. Key changes, backing vocals, and powerful ad-libs filled the space. A private meeting was called the following Monday. The worship committee was called out. A report was requested, asking for a full explanation of what went wrong and why the program went so far off schedule. One director proposed a ban on outside gospel performers at future events. Later that week, a message appeared on a regional SDA website. It said parts of the music segment did not reflect the doctrinal tone of our sacred gathering. The message was taken down within 12 hours, but not before screenshots spread across social media. Fans of Ricky and Karen saw the message as an insult. Gospel vloggers posted reaction videos. One said, "They invited the Spirit, and now they're blaming the storm." Comment sections exploded. Some defended the artists, others blamed them. The divide was growing fast. One major rumor hit Facebook. Someone claiming to be close to leadership said Ricky and Karen would never be invited back, that they were blacklisted. Nothing official has been confirmed, but neither Ricky nor Karen has posted anything about the camp meeting since the event. Reports surfaced that Karen declined to appear at an upcoming Adventist Women's Conference. Ricky, too, was allegedly removed from a Christian University worship event. Younger members of the church began using hashtags like #Let the Spirit Move and #SDA Worship Reform to call for change. A blog post written by a self-identified SDA pastor summed up the moment. He wrote, "It wasn't the music. It was the loss of control. We called it chaos because we didn't create it." That post spread quickly among younger Adventist communities. This wasn't just a loud concert. This was a spiritual battle between freedom and form. For younger believers, Ricky and Karen represented authenticity. Their worship felt alive. For older leaders, it felt like a threat to everything they'd spent years preserving. It's not just the Adventist church facing this challenge. Across denominations, churches are wrestling with the same question. How do we honor our traditions without ignoring the hunger of the next generation? At this camp meeting, that question turned into a crisis. Ricky Dillard and Karen Clark Sheard did not follow the script. They followed the moment. And that choice forced everyone else to choose as well. Were they willing to let the Spirit move, or were they more comfortable in control? Some believe this event was a wake-up call. Others see it as a disaster. But no one can deny it caused the entire church to take a long, hard look at its identity. What kind of worship is welcome? Who gets to decide what is appropriate? And can the church grow without losing itself? The days following the camp meeting were filled with meetings, debates, and silence. Youth leaders began requesting forums. Some conferences agreed. Panels were formed to discuss worship, music, and generational differences. One youth director said, "We're not trying to tear anything down. We just want to be heard." Maybe that's what this moment was really about. Not rebellion, not disrespect, but a deep cry to be seen. To be part of a church that doesn't just allow emotion, but understands it. That sees music not as a threat, but as a language the next generation speaks fluently. The church now stands at a crossroads. It can either dig its heels deeper into tradition, or it can open its arms just a little wider. Because the Spirit of God isn't limited to hymns or silence. Sometimes He shouts. Sometimes He weeps through a solo. Sometimes He speaks through a microphone that someone tried to cut. So, after everything, after the performances, the tension, the backlash, the silence, one question remains. Was this a disruption, or was it deliverance? Did Ricky and Karen push too far? Or did they finally open a door that had been locked for too long? Let us know what you believe. Were Ricky Dillard and Karen Clark Sheard out of line, or were they being obedient? Should worship remain as it is, or is it time for something new? Comment your thoughts below. If you believe in honest conversations, subscribe to this channel. And hit the notification bell, because more stories like this are on the way. The church is changing. The only question now is, will we change with it, or get left behind?